Strange New Worlds, Episode 3, The Ghost of Illyria? That's fun. And this episode was fun. This really felt like a classic Star Trek episode, and the fact that I could say that 3 weeks in a row is amazing. Because yes, my bread and butter when it comes to Star Trek is the original series. That's the one I like the most. It's the only one I've watched fully. That's what I love about Star Trek. And this is really striving for those yeah. I really lost my sentence there, but yes, it's doing that. We're doing it. We're having so much fun. I really enjoyed this episode. I think it went to a lot of interesting areas, explored identity in a very cool way that I wasn't expecting the show to do. How do you talk about yourself? How do you feud with a humanity that's going against itself? It's very fun. We get our first reference to Khan Noonien Singh, which, yeah, there you go. I knew that was coming. We had to tease that up with Eliar in here, and I'm like, yep, you did it. You'd made it work really well. There's Khan. There's the Khan reference. We don't have to bring it up ever again. We can move on with our show. So, first week, all about Pike. Second week, all about Uhura. This week, Una Chin Riley gets a lot of play here. This is her story, which of course it has to be. She's a really interesting character that I still don't know enough about to really form an opinion, but I was sold on this performance. It was really cool. We're down on Illyria. This colony or facility has been abandoned. There is an ion storm heading out into the skies that's going to stop us from transporting on and off the planet, so we have to get there as quickly as possible and get off the planet before the storm hits. Unfortunately for some of our crew, in particular Pike and Spock, they remain on the planet because they're unable to get out of the storm because Spock has to read some cool little books things. It's like, this is cool, Captain. Let's stay here and read. They get back on the ship. Something is wrong as when the people transport back. And it leads to a really fun story. And again, this is the kind of thing that is just episodic. It is procedural. We have a crisis we are dealing with this episode that will not really affect anything in the later episodes. We're going to solve it here. There is a disease that is spreading that makes these crewmates that kind of came from the ship. When they came back aboard the ship being transported, they hit the ion storm. They don't really know what's wrong with them, but they are connected to light. They have this weird disease that makes them want to go to light and have this hot heat light texture all over them. Eventually it could lead them to a very dark place where they could eventually, maybe explode because of some energy attacking them. Very fascinating. So aboard the Enterprise, all of our crew is slowly starting to get infected by this disease that is making them feel connected to the light. And it's going to some very fascinating places that I pretty much adore. And I love a good show where it's like, how do we solve the problem before it doesn't get any better or before it gets worse? I love it. You could do a lot of great stuff there because slowly all of our other characters start to get affected, except for Uhura in the beginning because she sleeps in the darkness. And it's like, hey, the darkness combats the light. Very fun idea. Very fun idea. And it leads to some great places. And one of the things it does go to that I don't think maybe some people were expecting, I didn't really clue into this idea because they were really setting up this ideology about the Illyrians and how they are these experimented on people who did these procedures and all this stuff that made them the perfect human, and it affected their blood and their body and their genetics where they're invulnerable to pretty much every disease. And we learn that Una is one of them. So when she gets infected by the light, we see a scene in her quarters where she starts to feel the effects attacking her. She rips her shirt, the first shirt rip we have seen this season. If we don't have more coming, I will be very disappointed. We should have some more coming. And she just kind of heats up, and you see her skin actually change color and the texture, and she suddenly looks like she's burning up like a Human Torch kind of thing. Converts back to normal. That's where we learn that she is Illyrian, and that she's not technically allowed to be a part of the Enterprise or Starfleet because of it, because of her powers. We also see how she fits into the narrative with the Noonien Singh, who is aboard our ship because of the experiments in the eugenics war that her predecessor, or they don't really say how she's connected, just her ancestor Khan was connected to it. Very fun. Very fun. It went to some very, very interesting ways. And you see how that story kind of plays out, how maybe her blood can be synthesized to find an antidote for all this, or how we can't actually do that because it go against protocol. And the way she talks to the doctors and everything. Yes, it's just great. It's just great. And that's what you want to see, because it just sets up this other kind of conflict that you should be expecting, but it goes in a way you're not expecting it to, and that is where this show really shines, Slowly everybody else starts to get infected. Our doctors get infected Hemmer gets infected. He's one of our alien guys here. That was a great moment where he kind of just like solves all the problems, but nobody really believes him. Then he just teleports like a huge solar flare from the inside of the planet's core onto the ship, and he's like, it's okay. This is how I feel heat. It's going to be great. It's going to get to like 10,000 degrees. But don't worry, we'll be fine. It's worth every penny. I like that a lot. Just really cool. Again, the effects look great. It is just doing so much great stuff for this show. And I'm very impressed by that. We still don't really know how it is spreading throughout everybody or how it kind of got through there, because our teleporters and our transporters should be able to figure out like a disease and block anything that it's foreign to, so nothing can really get through the ship and get aboard. I guess we could jump around a little bit. We do find out later that the doctor who, Amongo, no, I don't want to butcher his name, but I can't remember for the life of me what his name is. But our doctor has kind of just put aside updating his transporter ideas because of what's going on inside of him. And we learned, I don't know if this is like new information or not, but it just wasn't something that I was really thinking about in terms of canon or story ideas. In between the spaces from the transporting from one location to the other one, in between that spaces, you can store people and keep them alive. And our good doctor here is storing his daughter, keeping her there between the spaces until he can find a cure for her leukemia. So she is essentially not alive or dead or anything. She's in between the spaces of transportation. And if they were to update that transporter, it would erase his daughter from existence. But he also says to Una at the end, if this happens again, I cannot choose the life of one person over our entire crew. I will do what's right. And he's like, if I knew that was what was going to happen, I would have made the choice. And she's like, don't worry about it. If that becomes the problem, we'll take her and we'll put her somewhere else. Okay, you have my word, she will be safe. And that's classic Star Trek. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. But we still care about the one. The one is still important. And his daughter lives to fight another day. He reads her a story at the end in a very fun ending for this episode. I really did dig that. I think it just, that's it, man. That is Star Trek. That is just some really good stuff. Just like, and I like just like that idea where, of course, he didn't know that would be the case. You know, how would he have figured out? How would he have known his necessity to keep his daughter alive would be the thing that would put them in peril? Because his transporter did not become updated with the rest of them. It was not neutralized to these ideas. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's some fun story. These are some very interesting ways. I just like that this idea, like getting to the light inserts like this pleasure sensor into everybody and they start to like freak out and have a good time. It's kind of fun. I really did enjoy that. But back on the actual planet where Spock and Pike are trapped, we learn why it's called the Ghost of Illyria, and you see that they are caught in this ion storm, but these weird spectorial creatures emerge from it and surround themselves around the captain and the first officer. And they put themselves in just like in a weird bubble thing. And Spock theorizes that maybe these people who are like these weird ghost specter things are the people of Illyria who tried to leave through the ion storm but couldn't because of their genetically modified bodies. This is what happened to them. That is exactly the case, thus creating the Ghost of Illyria. And that is a really, really fun idea. A really fun idea. And again, very Star Trek. It's like you try to make yourself perfect. You tried to find the perfectness in humanity. Ultimately, it became your downfall, and now you are stuck as something you didn't think you would be. I think that is a really cool idea that they are exploring. Made for some great television, made for some great ideas, made for some great shots. I like to see like the things breaking through the door and just seeing them hurled down as the ion storm hits. Very cool. Everything about this was just incredibly fun looking. And you see that Una goes to confront Pike at the end. She's like, look, I didn't tell you who I was. I will leave Starfleet because I will not put anybody's life at risk again. He's like, don't worry about it. If the time comes for us to defend each other, whatever, I'll do it for you. I love you, babe. You're my number one. We're getting through this. Let's work it out. Awesome. Just awesome. Because, like, yeah, that is just the Pike Kirk motto. Protect your crew at all costs. They matter to you. You matter to them. Don't let them down and you'll be okay. What a fun episode. Again, very classic in terms of, like, you start with one crew member who's, like, not a main guy. I think it was Ensign Lance in this one. Starts off feeling sick, spreads the disease to pretty much everybody else aboard our ship. Suddenly, we have to solve the problem. We solve the problem. We also learn a history lesson along the way. Maybe don't try to perfect humanity. It'll lead to your downfall. Very cool. very fun ideas to explore. Nice to see Una get her moment here, because I think she was kind of relegated to the sidelines in the past 2 episodes, but having her take the focus, admitting something about herself, I'm very impressed with, and it just did something very clever and very fun. This show is just 3 for 3, and that is so cool to say, that a Star Trek show is just feeling exactly like I want it to. It's not solving these problems through mindless violence, it's just solving these problems in very interesting and realistic ways. I adore it. I think it's very fun. It's going to so many interesting places. I love this storyline, and just leads to some great stuff. More tensions aboard the crew. Very fun. Knowing a little bit more about our people. Can't wait to see what comes next week. I dig it. I dig it immensely. So that is going to do it for this review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.